Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Shortly after 8 a.m., our suspect was captured. I want to say, first and foremost, thank God there were no injuries to law enforcement or to the public.
Good evening, I'm Anna Manuel. People all over the country, including here in our area, have been captivated by the search for the missing inmate from Chester County. Authorities announcing the escaped inmate was captured this morning. Lillian Wu has details.
After evading police for 2 weeks, escaped inmate and convicted murderer Danilo Cavalcante is now in custody. Police saying thermal technology helped them pinpoint his location.
Shortly after 8 a.m., tactical teams converged on the area where the heat source was. They were able to move in very quietly. They had the element of surprise.
Cavalcante seen being loaded into a Bearcat after his capture. Authorities cutting off his clothing before making their way to a state facility in Avondale, Pennsylvania.
The dogs subdued him. He continued to resist, but was forcibly taken into custody.
Cavalcante made his escape from the Chester County Prison on August 31st after being handed a life sentence for the brutal stabbing death of his girlfriend. Surveillance video catching him scaling a wall before jumping from the roof. During his time on the run, Cavalcante was captured on multiple surveillance cameras, including several times at a botanical garden just a few miles from the prison. The search escalating Monday night after Cavalcante broke into a private residence and stole a .22 caliber rifle. He was ultimately captured near that home. The homeowner saying his family is now breathing a huge sigh of relief.
We are so excited. My daughter actually was the one who saw it first, and we were just celebrating seeing it on the TV, so very happy. We've had nightmares every night.
Chester County Prison is under heavy scrutiny as Cavalcante's escape was the second from the facility within the past few months. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
Starting today, people buying ammunition in the state of New York will be required to pay a $2.50 background check fee and a $9 fee for guns. Also, customers will not actually be able to buy the ammunition until they get a proceed response from the New York State Police. The U.S. Supreme Court cleared the new rules to take effect after rejecting a gun shop's attempt to block New York's background check law for ammunition purchases. Even though the law is now in effect, many gun shop owners have taken to social media complaining that they have not received instructions on how it's all supposed to work. Governor Kathy Hochul put out a statement praising the action by the Supreme Court and promised to continue doing everything in her power to keep New Yorkers safe. This is just one of the 50 new beds at the Salvation Army in Corning. The beds, along with mattresses and linens, were donated by Corning Incorporated. The Salvation Army says the beds help families as they transition from the Salvation Army shelter to independent living. The Southern Tier food truck will be distributing food on Friday in Horseheads. The truck is scheduled to be at the Love Church on Lake Road in Horseheads from 10 to 11 Friday morning. People needing food are asked to register tomorrow by dialing 211 or visiting the website on your screen. Congressional lawmakers held a field hearing in New York City to talk about security threats and emergency preparedness. Brian Yennis has more.
There's no controlled access at the border, so we don't know who's coming through that border.
New York's Nassau County Police Commissioner warns the border crisis is making it harder to protect Americans from the next terrorist attack.
I have to vet the normal domestic terrorist people that are evolving in this country. Now I got to take everything from around the world that's coming through the border with no vetting process.
The migrant crisis becoming a focal point at a congressional field hearing about how the terrorism threat has evolved since 9/11. The hearing was held at the 9/11 Museum in New York, a city struggling to handle an influx of 110,000 asylum seekers since 2022. Republicans warn the uncontrolled border makes it easier for terrorists to sneak in.
There's 1.7 million people who have entered the country without zero interaction with our government. We don't know who they are or where they are. And how do we know among them is not someone who wants to commit a terrorist attack? We don't.
U.S. Border Patrol encountered 146 suspected terrorists or people on the terror watch list at the southern border this year alone. There were 0 such encounters in 2019 before President Biden took office. New York City's Democrat Congressman Dan Goldman downplayed the threat.
Do you not think think that the migrant crisis or the southern border situation is at all a security threat to New Yorkers?
I don't think it's any more of a security threat to New Yorkers than domestic violent extremism or other threats.
Critics say illegal immigration is tied to terrorism. They note at least 6 of the 19 hijackers on 9/11 overstayed their visas at some point and were here illegally. In New York City, Brian Yennis, Fox News.
We may be just a day away now from a massive labor strike that could cripple a huge portion of the economy. Doug Luzader reports from Washington.
Barreling its way on stage at last night's Detroit Auto Show, Ford's new F-150 pickup promises to be a big moneymaker.
What do you think of this truck?
Ford likes this truck a lot, but only if it can be made.
At the end of the day, if we don't have agreements with the 3 of them by September 14th, then there will be action.
That is the UAW's firebrand new president, Shawn Fain, promising to strike if there isn't a deal by tomorrow. And his demands out of the gate were not incremental. He wanted a 46% pay increase for workers, a return to traditional pensions, a 32-hour work week, but wages for 40. He also wants an end to tiered wage structures that paid newer employees less.
We're reaching deeper than we ever have. It'll require us to do a lot of belt tightening.
Ford's CEO says car makers are willing to move in the UAW's direction, but there are limits.
We're going to be adding inflation protection, 5 weeks of vacation, 17 days paid holiday. So it's a very, very generous offer. Actually require us to tighten our belt for the company.
President Biden may have angered the UAW on Labor Day when he downplayed the likelihood of a strike. Now it looks like a very real possibility, and if it does happen, the impact will go well beyond the 145,000 members of the UAW.
Your complete forecast is next, plus the latest from Libya, where thousands of lives have been claimed by a devastating flood. Stay with us.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Well, good evening. It has been a pretty active September between starting off the month with that heat and now watching the very wet weather. Much of the northeastern United States has been one of the more active areas, and now we have some attention on Lee. Not any impacts here locally, but we'll talk a little bit about Lee here in a moment. But note that 5-day precipitation total there, almost at an inch. Definitely our emphasis on last night's rainfall, and the accumulations through this morning range anywhere from about a half an inch upwards of even an inch and a quarter. So another good dosing of some moisture in those soils to be noted. There were some flooding concerns, but what we have noted as we've rolled into our Wednesday is that cloud cover was able to break apart at times, even bringing us some areas of sunshine to round off our afternoon and evening. And we'll continue to take into those clearing skies overnight, which is bringing us cooling with those northwesterly winds, but due to winds calming as well, it is going to allow for some fog development with a low of about 49 degrees. So early morning commuters, make sure to keep those headlights on and travel with care. Now we are talking a dry and fall-like weather that will be taking us into the weekend. We are trending slightly cooler than normal, but giving us that September-like feel. And also this time of the year, when we start to talk about these cooler air masses that come with cold fronts from the Great Lakes, it starts to signal the change of the fall trees. We will see that we even peak our fall colors as we head towards early October. So we're really going to start to keep an eye on the changing of those, and we'll have more details as the week proceeds with that. But we will have a daily battle of some morning fog as moisture is going to stay plentiful across the area, and we'll be timing out our next chance for showers come Monday. Now note that this chance for showers actually comes with a cold front on Monday, as we will be watching Lee into the weekend that is going to be driving north through those Atlantic waters, just skimming past that east coastal area, heading towards regions of Maine. So we'll keep an eye on that system, but there is no immediate impacts from that system. Might be able to send some cloud cover over the local area, but nothing that's looking to be strong, as we are far enough inland there with that system. system. So we will note, though, that as we head into our Thursday, as mentioned, starting off with some of that patchy fog, maybe some passing cloud cover through the middle of the day, but afternoon sunshine trying to get us to strike those upper 60s and lower 70s. Average for this time of the year is about 76 degrees, and we'll be trying to strive towards that number by the weekend, because what we're seeing here early on is that still with that northwesterly flow following the system, those cool overnight low temperatures will be able to drop us into those low to mid 40s. And with a cooler start to the day, does take that sunshine a little bit more work to get those temperatures warming into the afternoon. And we also know that this time of the year we're starting to see a lower sun angle, so it takes a little bit longer to get those temperatures upwards. But these temperatures, again, they'll start to signal those trees that it start to change those colors. Now, we'll strive to get back to seasonal conditions this weekend, and then we'll be watching that another frontal system that is going to be associated with a cold front will be bringing in some scattered shower chances, as well as continuing to influence more of those fall-like temperatures.